So there's more disappointment in Kenya as Kenyan MPs debate the BBC documentary on the Gen Z protests. Now, unfortunately, some of these MPs are so out of touch. They forget that those Gen Z protesters, many of them come from their constituencies. They're supposed to defend them. But now some MPs claim that BBC is being used by the UK government to overthrow Kenya's president. Some claim that the BBC is being used to portray Kenya negatively. Instead of the MPs questioning who gave the orders to the police and the army to shoot down the protesters. Because that's the work of the MPs, to oversight and to call the police to account. But now the MPs, they are taking the side of the police and they are now blaming the BBC. Yet BBC is just a messenger exposing the wrongs. This is very unfortunate.
Kuna hii video ya BBC imeweza kuenezwa, lakini shida ni kwamba hawakuchukua mtizamo wa serikali. Ukiangalia katika ile video, hata Mheshimiwa Rais hakupewa nafasi ya kuzungumza vizuri. Kwa hivyo inaegemea upande mmoja, na inaonekana pengine kuna nadharia fulani ambayo ilikuwa inajaribu kusisitiziwa na chombo kile cha habari. Lakini ni vizuri wajue kwamba tunakosoa, tunatoa rambirambi kwa ndugu jamaa na marafiki ambao waliweza kutuweka kama Wakenya wenzetu, na hilo sio jambo ambalo tunaweza kulisifia, na kwa hivyo tunatoa rambirambi zetu. Na ile hatua tunachukua kama serikali, shirika la IPOA limeweza kuchunguza visa 90 kwa watu ambao walisemekana walikufa kutokana na yale maandamano ya Gen Z. Lakini kuna kesi 22 zimeweza kukamilishwa na wanaendelea kufanya uchunguzi na upelelezi kwa wale ambao pengine wameshukiwa, na kuna ratiba nzuri ambao wameweza kupatiana na orodha ya visa vile. Kwa hivyo hilo ni jambo ambalo tungependa kulisisitizia zaidi, na tuseme kwamba ni vizuri kuwa na wakati unaleta mambo pengine kama ni hizo documentary na kadhalika, uangazie pande zote mbili. Na tumewasiliana tayari na BBC na tukaweza kusema kwamba hilo jambo, kwa sababu ni vizuri wajue kwamba hata sisi wenyewe tunajua. Na wamesema kwamba walikuwa wametumia watu wengine waseme kuhusu serikali, lakini nikiwaambia watuambie ni akina nani wao, ambao kwa sababu hawakuhusisha hata ofisi yangu hata kidogo. Na ni vizuri tuzungumzie mambo vile yalivyo.
These people, I don't know what their intention is. Their intention could be fuel more harm and whatever. I don't know what their intention is. But from the young people that have spoken, it has actually created more anger. We are taking them back to the path that they would rather not walk again. But they are walking it. And we don't know at what point somebody else will fuel it again. You can't stop the media. Somebody else will fuel that anger again. And so for us to deal with it, let this parliament take that mandate to deal. When we had post-election violence, Mr. Speaker, I was lucky to be in this parliament. I think we're with you in that parliament. Mr. Speaker, we set up a select committee. We walked all over this country. And because as human beings, we have a nature to forget. When we thought we had moved on, I remember in one case, we met a woman whose husband's head had been decapitated. She went to her home with the husband's head. And we were dealing with people who are angry, people who are depressed. And going there, Mr. Speaker, I remember today when I was speaking in Parliament, I broke down and cried. Not because of me, but because of what we had. And we think we are moving on, but there are many young people who have not necessarily moved on. Mr. Speaker, personally, I would appeal, and I don't want to sit in that committee, but I would appeal that we set up a select committee to deal with this issue that stemmed not necessarily the finance bill, but the after effect of that finance bill. Mr. Speaker, I humbly agree that we deal with this soberly, and I'd want to discourage us from going through a process which we think may be politically correct, but does not necessarily move us forward as a country. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, that documentary was run by BBC World Service, and it's been run through our national media stations. And it captures or talks about the event that happened in June the 25th. A very sad day indeed, tragic and shameful. Tragic in the sense that we lost lives of our fellow Kenyans. Shameful in the sense that democracy of the parliament was about to be infringed. And nevertheless, it has come at this time, a time that we have really moved on. We spoke about that issue in this house, discussed it, sympathized, mourned our fellow Kenyans who passed on during that day. However, it has come at this time again. As much as we agree that our fellow Kenyans lost their lives, unfortunately, but we also moved on to ensure that we reconcile the country as we move on. BBC World Service has attended to this matter in a way that also looked at the Kenyan society or African society as something that discriminatory, sort of, if I may say so. Honorable Speaker, it looked like our media stations also picked it up without questioning how BBC World Service aired the story. It happens world over. People are killed, our people are killed, we sympathize, we moved on. Even world over. Remember, there was the same issue or similar in Capitol Hill. BBC World Service never took the opportunity to say something. It happened in London, they never said it. It happened in many Western nations, they never said it.
And we understand, Mr. Speaker, even in media, that the BBC is funded by taxpayers' money in Britain, meaning that BBC is funded to push the foreign agenda of the British people internationally, Mr. Speaker. And so we must know, is BBC speaking as a mouthpiece of the government and the people of Britain? Or what is it that the BBC is doing? Could it be an attempt to untwist this country so that they can rescind on the rider that we put on their training of the Batuk units in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, and perpetuate a history of extractive economy, oppressive economy, and exploitative economy in a very unfair trade balance between Kenya and the UK. Mr. Speaker, even as we debate this matter, it is not lost to us that yes, there were unfavorable events that took place in the time and the lead up to the finance bill. Mr. Speaker, the British Army Training Unit is known to have killed our people. They are known to have raped our women. They are known to have maimed our people. Mr. Speaker, they are also known for serious environmental degradation. And we understand, Mr. Speaker, even in media, that the BBC is funded by taxpayers' money in Britain, meaning that BBC is funded to push the foreign agenda of the British people internationally, Mr. Speaker. And so we must know, is BBC speaking as a mouthpiece of the government and the people of Britain? Or what is it that the BBC is doing? Could it be an attempt to untwist this country so that they can rescind on the rider that we put on their training of the Batuk units in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, and perpetuate a history of extractive economy, oppressive economy, and exploitative economy in a very unfair trade balance between Kenya and the UK? Mr. Speaker, even as we debate this matter, it is not lost to us that yes,
there were unfavorable events that took place in the time and the lead up to the finance bill. But Mr. Speaker, that is not what we are debating. We would like to know for a fact whether what BBC is hearing is connected to the riders that this House put on the training of the British Army training units in Kenya, where we were requiring that any officer of the British Army, if they are found here in Kenya to have killed, to have maimed, to have raped, they should be tried here in the mother soil, as it would happen even for a Kenyan if they were found on, guilty of a criminal offense in the UK. So that, Mr. Speaker, the issues are clear for Kenyans, because we know there are many issues that have happened in the UK, very many issues that have happened elsewhere, but they did not get the media presence that we are seeing being put on this issue of the Kenyan Defense Forces. And I dare say, Mr. Speaker, that I do not speak this in defense of the Kenya Defense Forces. I speak this to frame the issues, so that even as we are talking about this issue, we know that there could be an interest that is an ulterior interest being pushed with these media reports, because I know as a media practitioner, there is never a news item that appears on a prominent media station that is an orphan. Any media item that comes up on a media station has its own father and it has its own mothers. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and let us look at the agreement that we put down for the British Army to be able to train in Kenya and on Kenyan soil, and the exploitation of our environment, the depletion of our environment, and the cases that we know of human rights abuses that are conducted by the British Army on Kenyan soils. The killing, the maiming, and the raping will not go unnoticed, and we will not keep quiet about this issue. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
We are joyless. That's why you see we are wearing black. Everything that we have worn.
What is on your head is not black?
This one is ngaf color. Ngaf color. I can define the rest, which we are in black, Mr. Speaker. Everything is black. We are mournful. We are mournful. Mr. Speaker, we are mournful. Women, we are miserable. Women, we are malcontent. Women, we are dissatisfied, Mr. Speaker. Women, we are aggrieved. We are not happy. You know very well our men in the house. When you come home and you find